Picture this. You've booked your dream trip, planned every detail, and you finally make it to the airport. You check in, clear security, grab a coffee, and head to your gate, only to discover your seat has been given away. Or maybe your flight gets canceled at the last second because the airline couldn't find enough staff, or a mechanical issue left the plane grounded. Here's the twist. In these frustrating moments, the airline might owe you hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars in cash. And the best part? Most passengers have no idea these rules even exist. Today we're breaking down the real rules behind flight bumps, cancellations, and delays, and what compensation you're legally entitled to, whether airlines want to admit it or not. If you want more insider travel tips that airlines hope you never learn, hit that subscribe button now. Let's start with the basics. Airlines oversell flights all the time. It's not an accident, it's business strategy. They know a certain number of people won't show up, so they sell more tickets than seats. But when everyone does show up, someone gets bumped. Most travelers just accept a voucher and walk away. But U.S. Department of Transportation rules are very clear. If you're involuntarily denied boarding, you may be entitled to hundreds, sometimes even over $1,000 in cash compensation. Not just a flimsy travel credit. And that's just the beginning. Here's the shocking part. Airlines count on you not knowing these rights. The less you push back, the more money they save. Stick around because the numbers I'm about to share could literally pay for your next vacation. Let's break this down into three major categories: bumps, cancellations, and delays. 1. Bumped from a flight. When it comes to being bumped, there's a huge difference between voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary bumping is when the airline asks for volunteers, and they'll often dangle vouchers, gift cards, even hotel stays. It can feel tempting, especially when you're offered a few $100s on the spot. But here's the catch. Vouchers usually come with fine print, blackout dates, expiration periods, and sometimes they're not even transferable. That free flight might actually cost you in the long run. Now, if you're involuntary bumped, that's where federal law protects you. The Department of Transportation has clear rules. If the airline rebooks you and gets you to your destination within an hour, no compensation is required. But if you arrive 1 to 2 hours late on a domestic flight or 1 to 4 hours late internationally, you're entitled to 200% of your one-way fare, up to $775. If you're delayed even longer, the payout doubles. 400% of your one-way fare, capped at $1,550. And remember, this is cash or check if you want it. Airlines love pushing vouchers because they keep the money in-house. But the DOT makes it clear, if you ask for cash, they must give it. Here's a pro tip. When you're told you're being bumped, use the exact phrase, "Am I being involuntarily denied boarding?" That legal wording puts the responsibility squarely on the airline and triggers the compensation rules immediately. Suddenly, the conversation changes and you're no longer at their mercy. You're protected by law. 2. Flight cancellations. Now let's talk about canceled flights. If your flight is canceled for reasons the airline controls like mechanical issues or staffing shortages, you're entitled to a refund. Not a credit, not a rebooking, but a full refund back to your original form of payment. This is federal law in the US and in Europe under EU Regulation 261. Passengers can receive between €250 and €600, depending on flight distance and how late they arrive at their final destination. Canada has its own air passenger protection regulations too, which can mean up to $1,000 CAD in compensation. Here's where airlines get tricky. They'll often blame weather or air traffic control, which removes their obligation. But staffing problems or maintenance delays? Those are on the airline. If you hear those reasons, you can and should demand compensation. And here's the sneaky part. Airlines often push you toward rebooking or a voucher, hoping you don't know better. But remember, if you want your money back, you don't have to accept a travel credit. You can insist on a full refund and the law backs you up. In fact, during COVID, airlines tried to hand out vouchers instead of refunds, and the Department of Transportation had to step in with fines to set the record straight. So the key is to listen carefully to the reason they give. Weather? Probably no payout. Maintenance or crew shortage? That's cash in your pocket if you push for it. Think of it like a magic phrase at the airport counter. Once you know the right words, the whole conversation changes. 3. Flight delays. Delays are a bit messier, but here's what you should know. In the US, airlines aren't required to compensate for delays unless it turns into a cancellation. But the DOT has forced airlines to publish customer service dashboards, where you can see exactly what each airline promises for delays. Some pledge meal vouchers, hotel accommodations, or rebooking on the next available flight. Others promise very little. In Canada and the EU, it's much stronger. EU 261 says if your flight is delayed more than 3 hours, you may get the same compensation as a cancellation. In Canada, the Air Passenger Protection Regulations require compensation if a large airline delays you more than 3 hours. Again, depending on distance, up to 1,000 Canadian dollars. Let me give you a few quick examples. A traveler in 2025 was bumped from a US flight, took the $1,000 cash, not a voucher, and rebooked herself for a $250 on another airline. She walked away with $750 and a window seat, and a viral video. In Europe, a passenger delayed 5 hours from Paris to New York successfully claimed €600 directly from the airline. In Canada, Air Canada was ordered to pay $1,000 to passengers delayed more than 9 hours because of staffing issues, which the Canadian Transportation Agency ruled was within the airline's control. The key is knowing the language. Don't just ask, "What can you give me?" Instead, say, "Under DOT rules, I'd like compensation in cash, please." Or, according to EU 261, "I believe I'm entitled to €400 for this delay." Airlines suddenly get cooperative when they realize you know the law. And here's another trick. If you take a voucher, make sure you understand the restrictions. Many have blackout dates, expiration limits, or can only be used on certain routes. Cash never expires. Also, document everything. Take photos of departure boards, save emails and texts from the airline, and record the reason they give for your delay or cancellation. That documentation is gold if you have to file a claim later. Now let's touch on one of the biggest issues today: staffing shortages. Airlines sometimes claim operational difficulties to dodge payouts, but regulators in Canada and Europe have ruled that staff shortages are the airline's responsibility, not an extraordinary circumstance like weather. That means you're entitled to compensation. In the US, the DOT has warned airlines that misleading passengers about this can trigger investigations. So, what should you do in the moment? 1. Stay calm and polite. Gate agents have more flexibility than you think. 2. Ask directly, "Am I being involuntarily denied boarding?" That triggers DOT compensation rules. 3. If your flight is canceled, say, "I'd like a full refund to my original form of payment." 4. If delayed, check the airline's published commitments. Some may owe you meals, hotels, or rebooking. 5. If international, know whether EU 261 or Canadian rules apply. These can be more generous than US laws. It's about being informed and assertive without being aggressive. So let's bring it all together. Airlines cancel, delay, and bump passengers every single day, and they often hope you'll settle for less than you deserve. But now you know the truth. In the US, you can get up to $1,550 in cash for being bumped. In Europe, EU 261 could mean €600 straight into your pocket for delays and cancellations. And in Canada, the Air Passenger Protection Regulations guarantee up to 1,000 Canadian dollars when the airline is at fault. The bottom line is simple. Don't accept vague apologies or restrictive vouchers when the law says you deserve cash. Use the right words, know your rights, and document everything. That way, the next time you're stranded at a gate or staring at a "canceled" sign, you won't just be frustrated, you'll be ready to walk away with real money in your pocket. If you want more insider travel strategies that airlines don't advertise, hit subscribe and join this community of smart travelers. Thanks for watching, and until your next trip, remember, fly safe.